Bonjour and welcome to the fifth round of the European Super Touring Championship. We are at a completely new venue, new to Super Touring, but a very historic venue, and it's the first time they've expanded beyond any kind of historic revival meetings here in the Alsace village. It used to hold national, in fact, European events on the calendar, but it's been was defunct throughout the 70s and the 80s. But over the last few years or so, they've managed to get something back on the calendar. As you can see in the background there, a space for 22 cars in the pits, ergo Euros, dare I say it, the worlds could fit around here, but it's still early days yet, and a very excited crowd waiting to see what happens, good or bad. Adrian Michael Rees here, your regular European lead commentator, and joined once again by in the booth rather than on the pit wall or in the garage. Um, see how he feels about the facilities this time by Michael Swinnerton. Hello again.
Hello. I mean, the facilities are almost brand new because they've had a redevelopment here. So if anything, the aircon is just as nice.
And to cap it all off, a French front row. Not only manufacturers, but drivers too. Both of them represented on the front row, and with Pedro Barbosa on the fourth slot on the grid in the other of the works Peugeot RCZ coupes that have been crowbarred into the championship, along with two of the former world touring cars, as you see in the foreground, the Renault and the rear-wheel drive BMW. No doubt Kubica, one of the early season favourites with 2 wins, is going to get get across the line, into turn one first, we assume, given the rear-wheel drive advantage.
Oh, absolutely.
But a completely new circuit for these cars awaits them. Let's see what happens. Already offline as predicted. Well, not even before the braking area for turn one has Kubica got the lead, but Bianchi has fallen back. Dalmas up to second, and there's the second of the BMWs, Maro Heidfeld, in his final year with the BMW works team, up to fourth. Fast bend into a braking area for a tight hairpin right, bit of a wobble on from one of the favourite Audis, but there's a Hyundai down the inside of Barbosa already, as is the Capelli Megane there in seventh. And a very clean getaway. There's grass either side, there's barrier, not too much, well, not enough front, well, I thought it'd be not enough runoff, but it looks very clean already. Percy in the Lloyd's Ford there, decent enough considering the impressive getaways he's had recently. As we head towards the famous for this circuit carousel, not there yet. We've got another tight left turn before that. Kubica has already stolen the march and headed for the cambered bank turn before we reach the old, one of the more traditional pit lanes that used to get used. And there's Heidfeld in fourth.
Yeah, it's been a good start for the rear-wheel drive cars here, with the BMWs and the Hyundais both making their way forwards so far during this race. I think they're going to have the advantage around the big banked turn there, but we'll have to see how that one plays out. Although also good job on Dalmas for, like, I know it's only lap one, but he's still holding on to second place. We've been very used to seeing these Peugeots drop back very fast after good qualifying efforts. So the fact that Dalmas is being able to hold off three other cars there, all of which have, well, two of which have winning pedigree. The other one is definitely knocking on the door, and he's holding them all off.
Liuzzi, as the rest of the field goes through the final set of turns, they're not necessarily a chicane, but enough to disrupt the flow of the circuit. Whether that's a safety measure, we'll have to find out later. But the rest of the track, kind of in keeping with the traditional layout, if a little bit shorter. Percy up to 8th ahead of Capelli then. Morris in one of the former Work Scirocco's. The Audi's surprisingly off pace here early doors, but let's see what they do.
Yeah, the Audis have been chasing their tail with the setup all weekend long. Those cars have been wobbling around all over the place, and neither driver has been quite happy with the balance of oversteer versus understeer in certain corners. So I think they are definitely going to be on the struggle bus for this entire weekend.
Talking of balance, this isn't a performance because of how well they've been doing recently. I think this is actual pace we're talking about here, that they are being hindered.
Bit of contact there.
So with no handicapping, considering how much the Audis have won recently, it could be a different winner for a change, even if it is Kubica. 2 in the bag already. And there we see our roving driver Ingram with a different opinion about the racing line before the carousel. Heidfeld now up to 3rd ahead of Bianchi.
Given the bank nature of that corner, you're going to see different racing lines through there.
For the Renaults, we've seen the newer version they use in the World's not doing very well. It's a slightly disappointing first opening set of laps. It's still a long lap, all things considered. We're only going to get 9 around here. Braking area for the penultimate turn.
That BMW once again showing it's got far better brakes than almost everybody else in the field.
I felt obviously with the fastest lap there, if he's managed to gain a position throughout that lap. Ingram 13th. You've got what looks like McNish struggling in 15th position, just ahead of Heinz Winkelhock.
Taking up the last points-paying position, though. In theory, he should make light work of Erkut Gavan in front of him. In theory, but if the setup it really is that far off with the car, then he might even struggle with this.
And if the main Peugeot...
Oh, never mind!
You can see why they've been picked for this challenge. They've got the same sort of shape to them. It's a shame that the world don't consider them in the same category.
Well, it's the old 5-door rule, isn't it? You can't walk into an Audi showroom or a Peugeot showroom and turn up and walk out of there or drive out of there with a 5-door or 4-door TT or RCZ. Same goes for the Scirocco and the M2. It's why they're here.
And we see in the back of the pack there we saw Ordonez, the YouTuber, still getting to terms with the championship just as much as the New Zealander Shane Radicic. They're not straggling this far back yet as we exit the carousel onto what's now considered the test pit lane. There is a shorter test course here. This is turn 1 of that variant. It would be too short for this championship. You can see the runoff there as they head up the hill towards the start-finish line for the 3rd time this race. Kubica still leads, Danmar still 2nd. Heidfeld too far back to, well, yeah, in that position or anything, but the top 5 in the same shot. Barbosa being a bit of a stopping point for Tassi, and Capelli ahead of the Percy Fords, the privateer Fords.
Oh, Stefan Nilsson looks like he wants to relieve Percy of that 9th position. And if Percy's not careful, Gronholm is going to follow him straight through, and Percy will find himself out the top 10 pretty quickly.
Scirocco colleague Ingram there, not too far away either.
No, just
McNish also starting to close in too.
Yeah, I mean, given as much as I trust Ingram's talents, McNish has already got himself past 2 other cars, and seems to be on a bit of a charge forwards. So in theory, we'll see him move up to the back of Ingram's car pretty soon and potentially start challenging. Though, having said that, Ingram is now looking a bit racy on Gronholm there. So maybe Ingram wants a top 10 and potentially pole position for race 2. Not out of the world of possibility here.
This bit coming up is a bit technical. Let's see what the Scirocco makes of it. Trying to attack Gronholm there. It was almost around the outside of the sharper left turn in front of us just now. There's Gouvan also down the inside of McNish.
That's an opportunistic move.
What a battle this is.
Bit of pushing and shoving there. Bit of sliding into the carousel.
This is perhaps one of the reasons why some doubters have been concerned about this layout. That turn is very well cambered, almost an IndyCar NASCAR style banking, but in the opposite direction, with not a lot of runoff, and obviously with Winklock giving a wake-up call to Gavan there, drops him down to 16th.
This lot are playing bumper cars for the last championship point here.
And they're still fairly close. The leader just entering the final set of turns now, and the last guy is just on the exit of that almost straight stretch of track.
Liozzi's looking like he wants a podium position off of Heidfeld here, down the inside. Gonna make that one stick, unless something hilarious happens. Never mind, something hilarious happened.
Heidfeld.
Found some extra momentum going around the outside there. I think Liozzi might have just taken a bit too much inside curb and that unsettled the car, so he had to back out of it.
That meant Bianchi is now down another position, but with enough of a gap because of Barbossa's railroading, for want of a better expression. Oh, hello, the two Scirocco's go together like ice cream and toothpaste.
Careful, Ant, that's not how you get a manufacturer drive.
And you're meant to be in charge of him as well. You can't tell him what to do this time, boy.
No, I don't have a radio in my hand.
Gronholm 12th. Another VAG group car behind it in Nilsson, and also McNish in the second of the TTs. Yeah,
McNish has at least pulled the gap from these privateers here, whilst they continue to squabble for who is getting that singular championship point, though Winkelhock looks like he's got it under wraps for now. I wonder if Vettel can make anything of it if he passes Gavan quickly enough.
Well, we've discovered that the difference in tyre manufacturer has made no difference in how you drive the tyre. Do you conserve? Do you go flat early? Or do you find this? Well, it's hard to find the sweet spot in between. We've discovered that in past races, World and Euros, and this perhaps is explaining why at past the halfway point that the first to last spread isn't that technically spread out yet.
No, certainly not. As I've mentioned before, the Michelin tyre is a little bit softer than the Goodyear tyre. But overall, yes, they are very similar in how you drive the car. And I know Ingram's Scirocco happens to get a little bit lift off oversteer as it burns its fuel out. But that's more of a weight transference issue with the car rather than a tyre issue.
So whilst we've expected to see an Audi 1-2 at other venues, race 1 looks, we might, well, I'm sure Dalmas won't have a say in this, preventing a 1-2 for the other German mark. Ingram ahead of both TTs now.
Yeah, fending off an angry horde of Audi TTs by the looks of things as they have a little staff meeting as to who is going to be the challenging car and who is going to be the following car. I don't know if that one's entirely resolved yet, though.
I think Grondom decided, okay, if I can't get past, let the teammate have another go at this. And let's fend off the other.
Parked it on the apex there.
That was the other. That was the Morris Scirocco. No, correction, it was the Nilsson Scirocco. But Winglock down the inside, having recognised that Nilsson got held up by McNish there.
Yeah, trying to capitalise on it.
And in the meantime, the IKEA BMW Vettel has been very quiet lately. Unlike the Ingram Scirocco, we were expecting the Vettel BMW to be just as competitive in the top 10.
Well, that car's history, of course, that is the ex-DHL car that Jamie Webber won races in, so we know that car has winning pedigree to it. I think they're just, it's the team getting their head around the car, and then Vettel working out every nuance of it to really, eke as much speed out of it as possible.
The very definition of privateer, because they don't have any of the other team's input or any kind of feedback, especially from this completely new circuit as well.
Oh yeah,
that's why
everybody's
we're seeing that evidence.
Come to this with a whole new setup on of like, well, maybe we'll try this and see what happens in testing.
So Kubica, Dalmas, Heidfeld, Liuzzi and Bianchi, still your top 5, still close, but close enough with just over 2.5 to go. It's a 2-minute lap, just over 2 minutes, as you can see that Heidfeld still holds that fastest lap there. No one else has gone near it. Some grey clouds start to appear, but we're not seeing any rain on the radar whatsoever, so it's just more of a psychological game of chicken, perhaps. Speaking of,
he's forced the door open. Can he capitalise on it, or will Dalmas get the power down better? Ooh,
thankfully
that was a slam of the door from Dalmas.
Thankfully that Armco was there. I think Heidfeld would want to cut more of that, as Dalmas has that wobble on into the sharp left. Carousel coming up. Liuzzi, let's see what Liuzzi can do down the inside.
Yeah, Heidfeld got held up, that lost his momentum. Now we're going to go too wide through the bank turn like it is a NASCAR race.
Now, having watched some of the historics race around here last year, despite the sort of frailty of some of the older cars, they were still doing what these cars are doing right now. That corner has got a repertoire.
Yes, it's very fun to see a lot of the older cars do some enormous power slides thanks to the banking on that turn.
Liuzzi
means business. He's got his headlights on.
Third, down the inside, but there's going to be a bit of a switch back here, I think,
unless Liuzzi.
There we go. A good day for Hyundai.
So where Heidfeld was hithering and dithering trying to get past Dalmas, as soon as Liuzzi got there, he just went, nope, excuse me, thank you, coming through, goodbye. And now he's free to chase Kubica for the lead.
2 to go. Liuzzi perhaps doing that conservation I was talking about earlier. That's his fastest lap, but only 3/10 slower than Heidfeld's best.
We'll see how
well he does. A bit of a clean track in front of him.
Exactly.
Yep.
Bearing in mind, Hyundai have not won this season. They have a grand total of 1 podium to their name, thanks to Tassi at Barcelona.
And this was their aim in the Euros, rather than taking a deep dive into the World Championship with this car. See what happens in the Euros. I mean, it's promising enough, but obviously a win will look just as good as a podium finish in the Worlds. With talk of the Asian-Japanese Championship coming up as well, we'll have to see if they do want to take part in that as well.
Rumour has it they're going to use their... Whoa! What a slide!
Bianchi, that's what you mentioned the Scirocco was going to do.
That's the lift-off oversteer, where the car gets really unstable with a curved braking zone, and then camber of a track just plays havoc with it.
Well, thankfully it did it at that turn, not this one, because that would have been good night Vienna. 1.5 to go. Heidfeld looking to psych out Dalmas once more.
Still struggling to get around the Peugeot. He knows where he's stronger, he just can't capitalise on it.
And whilst that's happening, Liuzzi is closing in on Kubica, so we are spoilt for choice once more. Welcome to European Super Touring.
And at some point, Tassi has managed to get himself past Barbosa, so Barbosa is now holding up a slightly different train of cars here.
And thankfully the...
and Ingram is... Oh dear! He's found himself down in 16th. I don't know if some foul play has happened there, but he is now out of the points where he was sitting just outside the top 10.
We'll have to find out what he did later when you talk to him mid-session.
Yeah, I'll find out in race debrief.
So, Liuzzi was there or thereabouts in the same shot as the battle for third. There's the battle for third.
Yeah, these two are definitely clearing some track for themselves. I don't know if Liuzzi's going to have enough time to get all the way up onto the back bumper of Kubica and then try and have a go as well, but that's not going to stop him
Speaking of
trying, of
fastest
course.
lap, speaking of fastest lap in the bag, but
There it is. If that stays, that's an extra 2 championship points, of course.
Heidfeld now up to third. So that turn.
He's finally got past Almas.
And now he's got purple into sector 2.
Once again, now he's got clear track in front of him. Now, going back a topic before I was so rudely interrupted by Bianchi deciding to do a drifteroo into this corner, which he doesn't do this time. The Japanese Super Touring Championship, which is rumoured to have is in development. Hyundai are going to use their new sub-brand Genesis for it and run a G70 in there. Or at least that's the rumour. Wait and see if that happens or whether they show up with an i30N or something, because as it stands this Genesis isn't allowed because the Japanese series will have the same 5-door rule that the Worlds does.
It's in the same vein as the TT and the RCZ, but this one is of course rear wheel drive.
Yes.
But it's not enough of a drive to gain on Kubica, who has since the start of the race just done the business, unless something really stupid happens through the final 2 now 1 turns of the race to go. And just shy of 20 minutes, that was a quick one. I wonder if the organisers will put an extra lap on later. Kubica across the line, fastest lap, but is Heidfeld going to snatch it at the line? He certainly does. But is anyone else going to? Maybe not. But these are your points finishers for the remainder of the race. But who's 10th? It's Morris. Morris gets P1 for race 2. The Audis going to be scratching their heads. Heidfeld definitely with the fastest lap, unless a miracle of Carroll, Radicic and Ordonez. Radicic not last. This surprising. But Ordonez, I mean, his track experience. I think Radicic did turn up with a Falcon a couple of years ago to this venue, so he kind of knew that track experience helped him not be last.
If that's the case, he's the only driver with track experience around here.
And what a decent race we had, and I think the organisers of both the championship and the circuit would be very pleased with that one, but wonder what race 2 will bring with the potential chaos that might occur when we reverse the grid. And yeah, to sum it all up, Swinny.
Yeah, that proved that even though this track has been so ingrained into historic racing, it can actually do current gen stuff as well. That was a very exciting race, given some of the minor shunts we saw and some of the slideways moments we saw from various cars. And Kubica just once again putting on a masterclass, demonstrating his championship potential for this series.
With some lovely helicopter shots to end the coverage before we go on a, it's a 24-hour break. We'll be back tomorrow for race 2. Good racing, everyone.